Welcome to the Dental Implant Practices podcast, where each episode will explore how to integrate dental implants into your practice and into bone, with your host, Dr. Philip Gordon.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Implant Practices podcast. I'm your host, Philip Gordon, and today it's a great honor for me to have Dr. Charles Schlesinger. Charles, thanks for being on the show today. I really appreciate you joining me.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to speaking with you.
I'm a general dentist in Kansas City, and I try to learn and grow as much as I can in implant dentistry, and I've seen your name and face on a lot of publications and articles and a lot of education out there. And I thought I'd reach out and see if we can't get some good stuff for the listeners today. My goal for today's show would be to kind of get your story and kind of figure out for the people, you know, where you did your training, where you did your studies, where you got all your implant education, and then kind of move on to what you're teaching today and where you're practicing and all of that, because I know you've got a fascinating story and a lot to share. So I'd love to just kind of get your story from, you know, where you went to dental school and then kind of just pick up from there, if you don't mind.
Great. Yeah, you know, I came actually from Southern California originally, graduated undergrad out there, and really once I graduated, you know, my route to dentistry was kind of circuitous. I graduated with a degree in biology, thought I was going to go into research, which is what I did. I went into transplantation immunology and did research for a couple of years and realized it really wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so with a biological science degree, I did not want to go to medical school. And so I decided to teach high school biology. And so I did that for a couple years until I realized that I really didn't like teenagers very well. And so I had an uncle who was an endodontist in Cleveland, Ohio, and he kind of suggested to me that maybe I should think about dentistry. That was a good career. And so I kind of took it for what it was worth and took the DAT and applied out there, ended up going to the Ohio State University for my dental training, and you know, had a great experience there and really obviously learned a lot, and you know, fell in love with dentistry. It was really something that was foreign to me prior to that, because other than having a remote uncle that was in the field, nobody else within my family was in dentistry. So yeah, I finished up with my dental school, and I wasn't quite ready to jump out into the private practice world. I wanted to do some more training, so I applied for a general practice residency program and ended up coming back to California, where I entered a program there at the VA Medical Center in San Diego. And during that time, got a little bit of experience with implants, you know, did a few restorations here and there. We kind of had a program that fell apart before our eyes. We had lost a resident, and then our chief of service, who was also the oral surgeon, decided that he was going to leave the program and go out in the private practice. And so they took myself and my co-resident and kind of asked us what we wanted to do. And they were kind of scrambling for what it was. They were thinking about rolling us to the program with the Navy, and neither one of us really wanted to do that at that point. And so they asked us what we were really interested in. And I said I was, you know, interested in learning more about surgery. And they said, great, you're the oral surgeon for the clinic. Congratulations. And it kind of, you know, thrown in there, you know, going to the OR, really not knowing protocol, getting a lot of people upset at me for the first few times, and learning a lot on the job, basically, you know, getting a patient that came in and with a procedure that needed to be done. And if I was unfamiliar with it, you know, did all my research that I possibly could on it and went in and did my best. And so it was a great learning experience. But it really taught me that I really did like surgery. It was an aspect of dentistry that really appealed to me. So I ended up applying for a GPR2 and ended up becoming the chief resident at the VA Medical Center in West Los Angeles. And that was really where everything with implantology kind of came together for me. We were concurrently enrolled in an implant program over at UCLA with their residents. And so we went through lectures for a full year, among also doing our own implant placement and surgery within the VA clinic where I was stationed. And so it really was a fantastic experience. Got a lot of surgical experience. Got a moderate amount of implant experience, but knew that was something I really wanted to do. And then finished up my program there and went back down to San Diego. And I joined a group practice at the time. And my aspirations getting into that was that I was going to be able to place implants and I was going to be able to do a lot of surgery. And I found out the realities pretty quickly that in a group practice situation, being the new guy on the block, you don't get to choose what you want to do. And there I was doing molar endo and seeing kids and doing a lot of pedo. And so it took a couple years of doing that before I decided to branch out into my own practice. And I purchased a practice at that point in San Diego and was able to now start fostering my implant practice. And so over the next about 10 years, 10, 12 years, I had two practices that were general practices. And we did everything. But there was definitely an emphasis on implant placement, surgery, and pre-prosthetic surgery. And so I was able to really spread my wings at that point. And during the time that I was in practice, I also started to get involved more with education. It was something that I really love to do. I like giving knowledge to others, and so I started teaching for a couple different companies. And the first company that I taught for was Camlog Biotechnologies. And this was very soon after they had been purchased by Henry Schein. And so I was part of a group of 9 educators who were brought in about 2005, 2006 to basically spread Camlog across the U.S. And so started with that and, learned the ins and outs of teaching and continued on with a number of different companies over the years. And in 2012, I was given an opportunity to leave private practice and go into the corporate side of things with a dental implant manufacturer. So that's what brought me from Southern California to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Came here as head of education and clinical affairs for Osteo Biomedical, and was with them for a little over 4 years. Basically did research, did education, taught all over the world. It was a great opportunity. I also helped develop products, and then through attrition of individuals ahead of me, I worked my way up through the system and was chief operating officer of the company, and carried that through, like I said, until around 2016, and really had kind of the urge to get back into practice again. And at that point, I had a lot of doctors that I had been working with through the various companies that I had taught for, and decided that I wanted to branch out on my own. And so that was when I founded my own group, the CD Schlesinger Group, and mainly education and personal mentoring in offices. And so I've been doing that since 2016, along with settling into a private practice. I was a traveling implantologist and surgeon for the last 2 years, basically going in and out of offices in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, either taking teeth out or putting screws in. And so it was a great opportunity, but I wanted to kind of settle in. And so that's what I've done. I've settled into a single practice now, but still am out working with other doctors and keeping my hands wet, so to speak, with a lot of cases, and continuing to teach. And currently I'm key opinion leader for the Hahn implant system, along with Implant, who are the manufacturers of Osteogen and I also work with the Perio Institute, teaching advanced cadaver grafting courses for them. So with all of that thrown at me, it keeps me pretty busy, and I feel very fortunate to have been able to carve out kind of my own niche in dentistry, and especially with implantology. It's something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I love getting out there and talking about it and helping others learn how to bring it into their own practice. So that's kind of my background in a nutshell.
Well, that's a great story. I think a lot of people can relate with various stages of that, as far as taking GPRs and private practice and trying to figure out what you want to do, maybe finding what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And, for you, that was surgery. For me, implants and surgery is my passion as well. And so I think it's then after that, it's kind of deciding, okay, once you find your passion, it's kind of like, what do you do with this now, right? Where do you, how do you create a situation to where you can get better at this and grow in this and spend more of your time in this field than doing other things? And that's a different path for everybody. But you seem to have found a good balance now of, practicing and teaching and, mentoring and all those things. Now that you've got 20 or 30 years of experience under your belt, you have the ability to pass that on to others who have that similar passion, but maybe on the other end of the spectrum. So that's great that you're able to do that and share your wisdom.
Absolutely. I feel very fortunate to have been able to do that. And I think that's one of the unique aspects of dentistry in general, is that, and as a general dentist, that you have this ability to be the jack of all trades, but to also be able to pick and choose what you'd like to spend more time doing. And I think that's unique to this field. And I'm really happy that it all worked out in that way. But you're right. There are so many different types of doctors out there with passions for different aspects of dentistry. And I've worked with plenty where they've placed a few implants and said, I prefer doing cosmetic dentistry. I prefer doing crown and bridge and veneers, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's fantastic. And, that's what they love to do. And for me, I do it, but I prefer to do the surgery side of things. And that's a wonderful, wonderful part of the field that we're all in.
I know you said you got some time with various residencies and other organizations, via San Diego and Los Angeles. For people who are maybe young in their implant dentistry career, where do you feel like a good fit for someone to learn more about implants is these days? I mean, I know there's a lot of places nowadays where you can go learn about implants, but maybe, in your opinion, and including the things that you're teaching, where would you point someone to that says, hey, I'm interested in implants. I don't have a lot of experience. This might be something I'm interested in. Where would you recommend somebody kind of go? What's a couple of things they should look for? Obviously, are you teaching some starter courses? And in your opinion, how should somebody kind of get involved in the implant dentistry field?
Well, that's a great question. I think that there are a lot of different avenues that people can take, and there are a lot of opportunities out there. There's everything from your weekend style courses to your year-long continuum style courses that are out there, and basically everything in between. I have really found that, as most general dentists, if you usually whether you are good at surgery or you enjoy surgery, and you may not have placed any implants, and you want to do this because you realize it's a part of your practice that is really becoming a just another procedure that we as general dentists do. I truly believe that the best way to jump into this is to go ahead and to take a course that gets you. Because I believe that every general dentist that's out there is capable of placing implants if they really want to, and so I think trying to find a basic introductory course whether that be a weekend style course or maybe a short continuum. I'm not a big fan of the get on a plane, fly to a foreign country, place 30 implants, and then come back. I feel that it's overload. One, overload. Two, I found that most individuals that I've talked to, I said, oh, well, it was a great experience, but I really didn't understand what I was doing most of the time because we were forced to do so many implants in such a short period of time that they were able to only pick up a very small part of what they needed to be confident when they came back. So I recommend getting going, finding a system that works for you, and then start placing the basic implant cases, the single unit in a nice healed site, nice broad ridge with sufficient vertical height, and away from any kind of structures that could be any kind of issue. And get some help, if you need to initially, whether that be mentoring within your own office or whether that's talking with other individuals that you know. And then I feel this is so valuable because now you're going to realize where your deficiencies are in your education. Where if you don't actually do the procedure, you don't know what you don't know, and it would be very difficult to sit in a course and say, well, I'm going to absorb all this. I have found so many times that we'll have a doc that will come through, and I have, over the last 13 years of teaching, I've had individuals that have taken my courses multiple times, and I'll see them on a beginning course, maybe 6-8 months after they've taken the course the first time. And I'll see them on the list, and I'll say, oh, hey, how you doing? And they're like, oh, well, I've been placing, and, I haven't been placing a lot, but I wanted to sit back through the course and just kind of, reabsorb things. And we get done with the course, and the first thing that they say is, wow, more stuff makes sense to me than it did the first time because now I've actually lived it. I've gone in there, and when you've talked about, hey, when you encounter soft bone, it was just something theoretical the first time, but now they actually have encountered it and they know, now I know why he said to address it in this specific way. So I think there's no substitute for diving in there and getting experience. And then once you start doing that, you'll realize where you're not really up to par. And you may say, well, you know what? I'm having a lot of cases that require hard tissue or soft tissue grafting. And then what I recommend is you take a course that specifically addresses that. And you'll get more out of that. You'll also spend your money more wisely rather than trying to take a shotgun approach to implantology. I think that can be a problem. On the converse of that, I don't believe that somebody should blindly buy a system, watch a couple YouTube videos, and dive into it and think that they're ready to go. And I know that there are those out there that will do that. I think find a manufacturer, find an educator that you like, and go take a beginning course. And even if you're not ready at the end of that beginning course, then there's usually other courses that can build upon it. And at some point, you're going to become comfortable enough that you're going to be able to jump into it. And I think it's very scary for a new practitioner or even an experienced practitioner who has never placed an implant. I think we're really we're walking on eggshells many times because there is a lot of pressure on us. There's a lot of pressure from other areas within the field and other professionals in the field that don't necessarily believe or have not believed in the past that we as GPs should be placing implants. But the reality is here in the United States, we're kind of unique in the fact that we're the only country that the placement of implants wasn't the domain of the general practitioner. And the actual mechanics that it takes to physically place an implant is much, much easier than what we do most of the time in restorative dentistry. It's the treatment planning and understanding the treatment planning and understanding choosing the correct patient where the pitfalls can happen. And if you can take a course and learn how to treatment plan and learn how to choose a patient wisely in patient source, then the placement of the implant is easy. And over and over, over the years, I've been in with doctors with their very first placement, and they finish up, and the first thing they do is turn to me and say, wow, I can't believe I haven't been doing this all along, because this really was straightforward. And I was really just more afraid of the unknown. And so I hope that answers your question. I know I kind of went on here for a little bit.
No, I think that's great. I think, I tell people the same thing as, go take a small course and just see if it's right for you, and see if it sparks your interest, and just you got to figure out the basics. And I think, like we said, maybe a couple of those, or a short continuum, and then just get, understand what the kits are, understand what the mechanics are, and then go place a dozen or so, and then figure out, like I said, okay, do I like this? Do I not? Do I want to continue? If I want to continue, at that point, you usually know, okay, I need to get better at X, Y, and Z to continue this. Because there's also the practice management side you have to work on too. Most people don't say, I want to place implants. They buy a kit and they've got 1,000 patients lined up. So there's other things that you have to cultivate and develop in your practice as well. And so that gives you time to start developing and cultivating, all those skills. And then, when the time is right, then you might dive deeper into some of the bigger courses, like, a Maxi course or the Mish Institute, or, some of the grander, more time and money commitment once your surgery skills and your team and your, practice management systems are all in place. Where would you recommend or point someone who wants to get, more involved with dentistry? Maybe they've taken that first step and they think, okay, maybe this is right for me. What advice do you have for that guy who's maybe placed 20 or 30 and says, okay, I think this is right for me. I want to go to the next level, but I don't know where to go to, or who to talk to, or how to develop these systems. I mean, that's kind of a problem too. It's like, okay, I've got the bug now. I think this is great. I've placed a dozen and said, hey, this is it. But I don't know where to develop my practice, and I don't know where to develop my skills. How do you recommend someone grow from that point? Because that might be, another sticking point people are with. Is that what your institute is for? Your CD Schlesinger Group, is that kind of what you're trying to do there with that? Is help those people?
Absolutely. What we try to do is we work with doctors that are obviously just starting out in implantology and come out and work with them. We guide them through courses or individual mentoring, and some of the things that I do is in-office mentoring, where somebody picks a number of patients that they're going to be doing. We virtually treatment plan them together. We speak on the phone. We work via email, file sharing, things like that, and then come out and do those cases. And that's something that is beneficial not only for somebody who's first starting out, who may never have placed an implant before, or maybe they've only placed one or two. It's also really beneficial for that doctor that has been placed, 15, 20, 30 implants, and now says, hey, you know what? I really would like to do these cases where I'm going to have to do a crestal sinus lift, or I'm going to have to do a lateral sinus lift, or I need to do some grafting to prepare a site. Anything that's above and beyond the basic implantology can be taught one-on-one. There are also courses if somebody doesn't want a mentor directly in their office. Again, much of what I do through Perio Institute is teaching hard tissue grafting. They are a teaching group that also has individuals that teach soft tissue grafting courses also. Our cadaver-based course is really a great course. It not only gives a lot of procedural experience to the individuals that are in there, but even somebody who doesn't want to necessarily move out of the realm of the straightforward onesie twosie type of placement, it gives them the security in many ways of knowing what can be done, what these other types of procedures are, what are the dangers that they could fall into, and how to identify those dangers when they come up. because really for implantology, it's all about experience. That really is, to me, is the guiding tenet here, is that you have to do it. And once you gain experience is one of those things that makes you better, because you realize, or you're able to identify things when they are not ideal. And people kind of forget about that. And when they're not ideal, and if you know how to deal with them, or you don't get completely flustered, then you're able to sit back, evaluate it, do what you need to do, and move on. But I think, if somebody who's looking for more, just like you mentioned, I think everybody can evaluate themselves on where they feel they are in their career of placing implants. Some people are at that point where they want a full-fledged, large continuum, something like a Maxi course, something like a Mish Institute. That is also a great avenue, at least with the Maxi course. That's a great avenue if somebody wants to then become board certified through their organization. Through ICLI and the Mish course, you have the ability to be qualified for your diplomat by going through that. And again, it all depends on what you really need to get out of it. And with myself and my group, we like to go out there and work individually with doctors. We feel that there's a lot to be gained by that, because you're comfortable in your own office. You have your own staff, and you hit the nail on the head with that. This is multifactorial. It's not just the mechanics of putting a screw in. It is, how do you sell a case? How does your staff tear down and clean up? How do they assist? How they help support you as a beginning or advanced implantologist to get the patients to be comfortable and do the procedures. And so I find that working within an office in a comfortable atmosphere allows doctors to do very well. And I've gone in on offices where over 2 days we've placed 15 to 20 implants, and all different types of cases, from a very straightforward case to an overdenture case to sinus elevation, grafting, and anything in between. And it really is tailored to what the doctor wants and what the doctor needs.
That's great. I mean, I think, like you said, the personal mentoring is fantastic. I've learned the most in my career from people who have been, ahead of me, but have taken time to really invest in me. Whether that's just on their own, or courses that I've taken, or various things. It's usually through courses I've signed up with, and then people usually make an effort to help you along your journey. But I do believe that personal mentoring is where you're going to learn more than anything else. I mean, it's great to sit in a class, but you have to have somebody help you physically engage the realities of it as well. So finding someone who can do that, who's been there, who's done that, who understands it, I think is a great way to learn. And especially, like you said, if you can do all the treatment planning virtually and come out and then say, look, if I come to your office for a day or two, we can get 15 patients lined up, and we can, that'd be like a whole year's worth of CE right there in a couple days, because it's applicable, it's hands-on, it's real world. And like you said, the staff training and the assisting and all the supplementary things that need to go on with your practice are huge. As far as getting involved with education, I know you got involved with education early. Let's say someone's kind of further along in their career, and they think, I want to look into education, or I want to look into, publishing some articles or things like that. I know you've got a lot of experience in that. How did you get involved with some of those things, or how do people get involved with that aspect? Because I know that there is a lot of satisfaction that can come back from people, who've been doing this 20 or 30 years and say, it's time for me to kind of give back to others now. And I love implant dentistry, but I don't want to be in the office all day. I love being around other dentists. I love being around other, facilitators. How can I get involved with education? Is there I know there's not one right answer to that, but what, in your experience, has been a good way for people to get into that?
Well, that's good. It's a good question. There's a number of different ways to do it. One is if you have a very good relationship with a specific company, that can definitely open some doors for you. Publishing is a great way because, the reality is that companies get hounded every day by practitioners everywhere that say, I want to teach for you. And that's, they kind of sit back and they pick and choose wisely, especially if you don't really have a pedigree to go on, other than, hey, you know what, I'm a great practitioner in my hometown and I do a lot of great work. One of the ways, like you said, is through publishing. Getting involved online and getting name recognition or getting recognition of the things that you do. Publishing, it's a great way with magazines and journals. It's a little tough at times just because there is such a big lag time. I may submit an article today and not be published for 4 or 5 months. There definitely is a backlog on some of those things, but a faster avenue to explore is the online avenues. Get out there, and there are plenty of forums. And I'm an absolutely huge fan of Dentaltown, and it's very early on in my career, that forum really kept my sanity. When I was doing things on my own in my own office, thinking that I was all alone and that it never happened to anybody else, and then you'd go on there and find out that there are other people out there that are experiencing the same issues that you were. So I really started to become much more involved with contributing onto the different forums there. And I think that's a great way to start getting your name out there. Many of these forums have the ability to upload cases and to show the type of work that you may do. What'll happen is if you start with something like that, then when you come back around and you start to try to get published, or you start to hook up with a company to do some educating, that they will have something to go to. You could say, hey, you know what? I want to give you some more information on myself. Go check out this posting, check out this article in this online magazine. And that will help it along. The other way, which is a little more difficult route, is to just branch out there and start doing this yourself. There are a lot of education companies out there that if you can prove your pedigree enough, they will work with you. If not, and you feel that you've got the ability to teach, get involved locally. Get involved locally with your local dental society or the local AGD, something like that, and go to them and say, hey, I'd really like to. I'm doing some really great things in my office. I'm doing, beautiful CAD/CAM restorations, but I really would like to start teaching other people how to do this. Would you like me to do a seminar? The other thing is to go to some of the supply houses, because I think the supply houses also are very open to giving CE, where you could put together a short presentation, an hour and a half, 2-hour presentation on an evening, and be able to get out there. I think that's a really great way to go. I also, have to say that for a lot of individuals that aspire to teach, that you also need to really understand that those that are out there teaching, that have been out there teaching, that make it look easy, that there is a lot of work that goes into preparing your cases, documenting your cases well, and being able to present them well. Over the years, there's been many a practitioner that has aspired to teach and were fantastic clinically, and were absolute disasters when it came to putting them behind a podium. And I think it's not for everyone, but it is something that I think if you are interested in giving back, start locally and start digitally. That's probably the easiest way, and then work your way into talking with the companies. If you have a rep that you work with regularly, let them know, because a lot of these companies will not know that you want to teach unless you tell them that you want to teach, and then you get kind of put in the queue of individuals that they may not look at this year, but they may look at next year, or they may decide to put you on the list for the year after that. But if you do have a desire to teach, and you do have a desire to get out there and spread your experience to others, I highly recommend it. It's extremely gratifying to work with others. It's really great to give back, because so many people, at least in my experience, so many people gave to me over the years, and so that is something that I really feel very strongly about with being able to be out there and teach. But just number one, get your stuff together. Start documenting. If you're not documenting your cases in the particular arena that you want to teach in, you need to start doing it. And you need to, it sometimes blows people away when I talk to somebody and they say, oh, well, you do a 2-day course. And I say, oh yeah, I do. And they're like, well, how many slides do you have? And my keynote presentations are 800 to 900 slides for a 2-day course. And of that, probably 3/4 of them will be clinical slides. So that means that you have to have true dedication to documentation and get that together so you can do it. And then once you document that, then sit down and create a story. Create the story that you want to present. And that's the fun thing about education, is that there is no right and there is no wrong when it comes to how you present and your take on the specific subject matter. You're 100% in control, and you need to find a way to keep those that are sitting in the seats, keep their attention, and to show them that this is something that they are capable of doing, and coming at them from a real world perspective. And I think that's a very important thing also when thinking about teaching is to be clinically based and to be relevant in what you see on a daily basis, which is very different from some types of education that are out there that really show you the stuff that's being done in academia, or the stuff that's really being done at the very top of the profession. I think if you want to be a guy that's out there, or a gal that's out there that's teaching every day, teach what you are passionate about, and teach what you can speak freely about, really on almost on autopilot, because that will make it much more effective when you're out there and trying to do it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, there's a lot of venues, but it all starts, like you said, with getting your own act together. So whether it's whatever you're passionate about, start documenting those cases, start telling a story, whatever that story might be. And then I think, you kind of nailed it there. If you're wanting to really teach to people, it's going to have to be, what is the real world dentistry that's going on today, and how can you apply that to the real world dentists that are sitting in the office so that they have something to take home and go make their lives better. And I think, and I know that's what you try to do with your education, and I think that's probably why you've had a great success with it, because you've seen all areas of the arena, from the research to the the implant manufacturing side, to owning your own practice, now to mentoring to others. So I think you can relate with every stage that's going on there, because you've kind of dabbled in every aspect of the arena, and then you've got the clinical experience to draw upon and present to say, okay, I've done all these scenarios, and here's what to look for in each, and here's what I would do if I were you. And those are great experiences to share. And I think if people are wanting to get into teaching, like you said, just they have to start getting stuff together and start putting little groups together. And it's never been easier to connect with people, but you've got to have relevant things to cover. So
absolutely. Absolutely, and maybe try to find something that differentiates you from everyone else that's out there when it comes to what you do, and that might be just concentrating on one certain aspect of what you do that you feel is unique. Especially if you're trying to break into teaching, yet you're trying to do it on your own without somebody coming to you and saying, well, hey, we would love you to teach implantology, and therefore you have the next 3 months to put together a course to teach basic implantology. That is actually, in some respects, it can be much more difficult in some ways, and in some ways can be much easier. But I think if you're looking to break in and to really show how you do things differently than someone else, or what makes you special, that's what's going to draw people to want to take courses from you. Is that people will want to come in because of the topic that you're going to be speaking about. And then once you have that experience and you've been out there, then people will come for your topic and for the relationship that they can build with you, over that 1 or 2 days.
No, I agree. And I think it's the relationship part that keeps people coming back for more, and in that mentoring aspect, like you talked about. Where are you teaching this year? I know we're coming up on 2019. Where are you doing your teaching in 2019? I know you do some for Glidewell, and you said the Perio Institute. So kind of break that down a little bit. Other than your kind of specific mentoring that you're doing, what places will you be speaking at this year, and what's on your table for 2019?
Yeah, so 2019 is it's shaping up at this point. I've got there are a lot of courses. We'll be doing courses around the country. Just a quick breakdown of kind of the first half of the year. For those that are out there, we've got an advanced cadaver grafting course in Columbus, Ohio, mid-January through the Perio Institute. I'll be out at the Yankee Dental Conference lecturing on Saturday the 2nd of February on osteogen and the one-step socket preservation. And then we've got an osteogen course for those that are in Boise for Boise AGD. And then we've got Perio Institute courses in San Antonio, Texas, Philadelphia, Louisville. We have a beginning beginning implant course for Glidewell at their teaching center that they just built in Louisville, Kentucky. And then be coming back in May to Albuquerque for an AGD course, and then Chicago, Portland, Scottsdale, Louisville, Newport Beach, Minneapolis. So that's the year so far, and it's dates are always thrown in there. So this is probably going to end up being about half of what I end up with for the year. But we're basically all over the country, and I think a good way to see specifically where I'm going to be at would be to go to my website, just the CD Schlesinger Group.com. That under education lists out all of the courses and where they're at. And then individually from there, you can go to the specific companies like the Perio Institute course and be able to see not only my courses, but the courses being taught by some of the other educators there on different topics, and the same with the Hahn course through the Glidewell Direct site. So, all the information's out there, but we try to spread the wealth all over the U.S. and get a chance to meet with doctors all over, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure there'll be a couple overseas trips thrown in there too, so I'm looking forward to whatever comes up. This last year was fun. I got the opportunity to lecture a couple times in Vietnam, which was a wonderful experience, and went down to Costa Rica to lecture this past year, and so it's been good. Up in Canada a couple times, but right now I've got my U.S. the U.S. schedule all set, and it's there, but that'll constantly be evolving. So, checking back and seeing what's updated will definitely be an advantage to anybody who's looking for courses, specifically if they want to see something with me.
Yeah, no, I just went to your website, and it's all laid out nicely. I mean, you've got, obviously, like you said, a busy first half of the year, and those dates are always usually updated to fill in the second half of the year as things come along. I know you're teaching all over on various courses, so depending on where people's interests are at or experience level, I'm sure you've got something great to offer them. And I'm sure the website is probably the best place for people to get a hold of you, I imagine, the CD SchlesingerGroup.com.
Yep. They can get a hold of me through the email there, and that's probably the most direct way to get in contact with me. And I'm pretty good at being able to check my email every day and answer in a very expedient manner.
Well, yeah, I really appreciate your time today. It's I know you're doing a lot of amazing things, and your path continues to evolve and expand and branch out. And I know a lot of people appreciate everything you're doing. As far as implantology for the general dentist, I love people like you that are trailblazing and knocking down the barriers and keep pushing the growth for general dentistry. I think it's great to see. I myself am, thankful that there's great people like you out there, and really appreciate all the stuff you're doing. And I'll direct as many people as I can to you for your expertise, as I know that there's got a lot of people out there need good mentorship, and it's just good to know people out there what they're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to get on here and to speak with you and your listeners that are out there. And I truly believe that we as general practitioners are really the best suited for this type of treatment. It is a restoratively based surgical procedure, and we are the restorative dentists. And there's no reason that somebody, if they want to add this to their practice, shouldn't be able to. And don't let anybody try to dissuade you from it if it is something that you want to do. And there's plenty of support out there for you to grow this aspect of your practice and to provide the best treatment for your patients. And you'll find that so many of your patients will be much more receptive to implant treatment when you can provide it yourself within your own office, rather than having them to go out someplace.
Well, I know it's just, it's such a passion of mine, but it's challenged me in ways that I never thought possible, but it's also provided me, with the most exciting dentistry in my career. And I just hope to, share that with others. And I know that's why you're doing what you're doing. So it's exciting to talk with people of like-minded and share ideas and learn from others. And look forward to 2019 and tracking you down and meeting you in person. So I really appreciate your time today, and good things to come in 2019. So thanks for everything you're doing for implant dentistry.
Thank you very much, and thank you again for giving me this opportunity to be part of your podcast. And I'm looking forward to meeting you face to face soon enough.
All right.
All righty. Well, happy holidays and have a happy new year.
You too.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.